Hey y'all, how y'all doing? We're back with another 2026 winter storm watch in Georgia. Thanks for watching. I will keep you updated.
Chris Holcomb, and welcome to this extended weather update as we are nailing down more on the timeline and intensity and impacts of this impending winter storm that we're preparing for coming up this weekend. And as hopefully you've been watching us throughout the day here, where we told you about the expansion of this winter storm watch to now include the metro Atlanta area. And if you'll recall, last night, I was telling you that when they issued it just for North Georgia, I was letting you know that they are most likely going to expand it down into our area. That was all based on the timing, where they can't really issue a watch more than 48 hours in advance of when the event is to happen. So that's why they had to wait until today to include, excuse me, the Metro Atlanta area, because we don't expect anything to happen here until later in the day on Saturday. But this is that winter storm watch that's in effect for all of North Georgia, the metro area. It goes over to the east of us, and also along I-20 and southward, going down as far south as parts of Coweta County, also Spalding County, Butts County, also into Putnam County. Of course, these counties north of Macon are included in that as well. Well, we got Putnam County here, Jack. County. So that line northern, really all of our viewing area is pretty much included in this. It doesn't include Pike and Lamar County, Upson County, Meriwether County, or Troup County in this winter storm watch. And the reason this is in effect is because we're looking at icing conditions coming in this weekend that could cause, and also watching some of those signals watch. Not everybody in the blue color is going to be experiencing the same thing. So we want to break this down even a little bit more here to show you those impacts that we're talking about here. We're really thinking, in fact, I want to show you this to you full screen so I can get out in front of it and kind of point to it for you so you can see here what we're watching. Now, in Northeast Georgia, we're thinking that the conditions are going to be worse there. And I want to talk about ice accretion. That is what we're talking about when we're talking about some of these totals here. When you have a half inch or more of ice coating trees or power lines, that makes it really heavy. Trees will break, fall on, trees will fall, limbs will break, falling onto power lines, and that's going to be causing a lot of power outages. And the reason it is going to be worse to the north and east is because you often hear us talking about the wedge, and that's that northeast flow, shallow layer of cold air at the surface. And that's why this is a freezing rain event, because it's going to be raindrops up above. It's actually going to be warmer in the upper levels. It'll be rain. It's going to fall into that shallow layer of cold air where temperatures are going to be around freezing or below freezing, and then liquid in the air. But then when it hits a cold surface, it is going to freeze. It's almost like layers of paint just adding up on top of each other. Every time more rain comes down, it just adds another layer of ice there. So when you have that around a half inch or more, it's going to be pretty significant in these areas of Northeast Georgia. This comes down like around Gwinnett County, northern parts of Walton County, North Fulton County, Forsyth County. That line up to the north and east, that's when we think that those temperatures are going to be colder and colder longer. Why? That ice is going to be building up a little bit more there. Now, toward the metro area, we are in this region here, which is indicating about a quarter of an inch to a half inch of ice possible along the I-20 corridor on the east side, as well as up into northwest Georgia. And then on the south side, about a glazing to potentially maybe up to a quarter of an inch of ice. So it'll be more minor impacts there, the moderate impacts for Metro Atlanta and northwest Georgia, and then the major impacts we're expecting here coming up this weekend. So let's break that down even more. Let's start in northeast Georgia. You see that right there? That's where we see major there. Ice totals of over a half inch. Dangerous to impossible travel expected in these areas beginning Saturday night and then through the day on Sunday. Also, widespread power outages there too. We're going to have some breezy conditions. So with those heavy trees and tree limbs, that will help really enhance those falling because of those trees that are weighted down. And again, we're going to see a lot of those power outages. Then as you get to Metro Atlanta and along that corridor of I-20 on the east side and into northwest Georgia, we're talking about those ice totals a quarter of an inch to a half inch. That's going to cause some difficult travel. So be prepared for that. Also, scattered power outages. Maybe not as many power outages, but a good number of power outages here for those regions. And then in that minor area, ice less than about a quarter of an inch, and a slick travel possible, and isolated outages. And again, this is all, we're still going to be fine-tuning this over the next few days as well. But we just wanted to let you know that the winter storm watch, not everybody in that watch is going to be experiencing the same thing. So let's talk more about those totals, because I know that sounds minor going ice can coat your windshield, and we would have those isolated outages. Then when you get up to a quarter of an inch, that starts weighing down those trees and limbs a little bit more. We would have more icy roads. We would have tree limbs sagging and breaking, and we would see more numerous power outages. But a half inch or higher, and we may even see totals in northeast Georgia big. We're talking about dangerous travel on the roads, widespread tree damage, and long-term power outages possible with that. So it's going to be really tricky, especially in areas of North Georgia. So impact alert to be preparing for this possibility. And we've really been the past few days the timing. So we're really thinking later on Saturday is that we'll start to see this changing over into some freezing rain. Most likely after sunset is when I think things might start getting a little tricky. Now, it'll be happening earlier in parts of north and northeast Georgia. So in north and northeast Georgia, during the afternoon hours, just go ahead and be coming in here from the metro area before sunset. I would be coming in and be planning on staying for a while. But the main impact is going to be freezing rain. We're not concerned about snow or sleet with this event. It's going to be a freezing rain event. And then plan for travel and power impacts. And that's kind of what I was telling you about with some of those widespread impacts. Now, here's a look at that ice potential, and these are the American models showing it try to push a little bit more to the south. The European models bringing it into Atlanta and a little bit on the south side. Don't necessarily pay attention to those colors, because those colors are going to scare you there. I think a lot is going to be dependent on how thick that ice can get, about what happens with our temperatures coming into your Sunday afternoon. We might see some warmer air that's going to be moving in, and that is one of the question marks that we have on what we really don't know right now. So let's break down what we know with this system. And each and every day, we're getting a better confidence in our forecast, where things are kind of coming together a little bit more there, where we're feeling more confident about what we're going to be seeing there. So we're feeling more confident that a winter storm is more likely. We're feeling confident there's going to be some dangerous travel, depending on where you are, as well as the power outage threat is growing with those major impacts, especially in northeast Georgia. And we're also feeling confident that this is going to be a freezing rain event, not a snow event or anything like that. Now, what we don't know, even though we're getting closer to some amounts, I'm not putting numbers on any of those amounts yet, except for what I just showed you about that ice accretion, possibly a quarter of an inch or more, but I'm not putting in specific numbers on that yet. So we hope to get more on that. We also are feeling pretty comfortable with the timeline that we've been talking about this changing over to freezing rain, most likely late afternoon in North Georgia, and then into the metro Atlanta area later on Saturday, overnight into Sunday. So the timeline we're feeling a little more confident about. extent of the impacts, again, talking about those different impacts depending on where you are in the state, we're narrowing down that a little bit more. And then the other big question mark is what I alluded to just a few moments ago is, will we see any warming on Sunday afternoon? The trick with this is that we're talking about the wedge, shallow layer of cool air at the surface. Some models are saying that a warm nose is going to come up into that from the south and west, warming us up. But what we experience a lot of times with these models is that when we get a good strong wedge, the models often say it's going to get scoured out earlier than it really does. So I'm not sure that these models are handling that wedge on what we know is really more of a reality, that warm air most likely isn't going to overtake it. If it does, that would be great. Now, we're going with a high of 38 on Sunday, and that would be getting back above freezing for a few hours, and that would help slow down any buildup of ice and maybe help get away or work away some of that ice out there. But in northeast Georgia, it may stay at or below freezing, and if more rain comes down, that would just add to those totals. That's why we think it's going to be more impactful in parts of northeast Georgia. So here's a look at the timeline as I'm talking about what we think is going to be happening with it. On Saturday, colder air is going to start coming in from the north and east. The moisture is going to be spreading in. Late afternoon in North Georgia and Northeast Georgia is going to start changing over to some freezing rain. But then it's really going to be late night Saturday after the sun sets, especially overnight into early on Sunday, when we're going to see more of that freezing rain, and the accumulation is going to start growing there. Temperatures dropping into the 20s for lows on Sunday morning, so that is going to be well below freezing, and those roads are going to be turning slick and also icy. And then on Sunday, still more icing, as long as we are staying below freezing, and that's going to really add to the power outage threat as that winter weather will continue. And still that big question mark is watching those temperatures very closely to see if we'll get any type of warm up here on Sunday afternoon. And above freezing, any rain that comes down then wouldn't keep accumulating. So
Okay. So we'll stop right there, and any more changes in the weather, I will let y'all know. Okay. I love y'all. Be safe out there.